Hi, I'm VISSIA. I am an alt pop artist from Edmonton, which is Amasquatchie, Waskahegan, Treaty 6 territory. And thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for joining me today on the, podcast or YouTube channel for doing this interview. Very happy, very excited to be talking with you today because I know that for people who don't really know who so obviously you're based in Edmonton, and
Mm.
for the longest time, for most of your career, you've actually been, kind of making music in more rootsy folk settings. And
Mhm.
now you're kind of starting to rebrand yourself, revision your music. And your new single, On My Mind, came out about a week or so ago. And now we get
Mhm.
to premiere your music video, which is a wonderful choreographed dance pop number.
Yeah.
And I just want to kick things off and just ask, ask you to talk to us about your new sound. Like what inspired you to shift from folk into something more electric and dance?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, well, like my background in music growing up was very much the folk and country traditions of songwriting. And then when I went into the studio at the top of 2020, I guess it was before then too. I had applied for some grant funding. And so we had done a couple demos already. And actually, now that I think about it, because you applied it for grants and get denied so many times before you become successful.
Yeah.
That's just how it goes. It takes practice, and there's lots of variables involved. But when I first initially applied with my two demo tracks, they were definitely more of like a rootsy production. And then when I got denied that one time, I was like, I'm not really feeling this vibe anymore. Like, let's try something different. And I'd been listening to a lot of pop music and, um, just kind of thinking about where did I want to go next as an artist? Because I didn't really want to just keep doing this same thing. You did the thing. Like I did my 2017 placeholder record, which I still am very proud of and love. But yeah, it was kind of time to try something new. And so that kind of brought me into pop territory. And so On My Mind is the third single from the upcoming album, which is called With Pleasure.
Oh, right on. Are there any artists that kind of come to mind right now that you've sort of been influenced by on this transition?
So many, honestly. I'm trying to think here. How do I distill this? I just listen to so much music all the time. So it's been anything from like, I'm a big Robin fan, so that might be pretty obvious in the most recent track
Yeah.
On My Mind. And I don't know, like the first track that I put out, Walk Me Home, definitely had more of like a piano ballad sound, sort of, I guess, reminiscent of Adele, but um, yeah, it kind of goes all over the place for me. It's like I'm influenced by anything from like, 60s music, like Motown, soul. I listen to a lot of soul, actually, a lot of neo soul as well. I'm a big fan of an artist called Lady Ray. And then there's like newer artists, like just incredible vocalists too, like Jasmine Sullivan just put out a new record. So that's more like R&B, I suppose.
Mhm.
But then, like earlier today, I was pumping some Miley Cyrus. Like it kind of just depends on what
Yeah.
I'm into. Dua Lipa's record last year was a good one, but I'd already tracked my whole record before that one came out, I guess. So yeah,
Okay. So
just
you were
kind
the
of
original. Yeah.
experimenting.
You were the original pop artist to make some shifts. Yeah.
I mean, in so many words. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
um, no, it's just kind of the whole record. There's 10 songs, so it was kind of like a nice opportunity to just explore some different sonic territory and just really do things that made me feel good and not really worry about, you know, if other people would think it's cool necessarily. It's just like, if this feels good, let's do it.
Yeah. And it is a really fun song. That's what really caught my attention because I'm my biggest flaw as a music, I guess, blogger or whatever, for lack of a better term,
Hmm.
is my initial reaction is strictly to the sound of it. Like I'm the lyrics are so far behind in priority to me sometimes, and in a nutshell, like On My Mind, you just hear it and you just feel so good while listening to it, and it makes you want to dance. And then you watch the music video, and I think that just watching you dance to it was a lot of fun, just to see how free and there's so much space in the video too. And
Hmm.
you mind just kind of, what was some influence or inspiration for the music video? Like, why did you decide to do like a solo dance piece?
Sure. Well, first of all, we shot it at the end of November of 2020. So we kind of had to operate within all of the COVID restrictions, of
Hmm.
course. And, we're in Alberta. We shot it in Red Deer in this black box space, um, because the filmmaker and director is based in Central Alberta, and the person who shot the video and the person who was pulling focus was from Calgary. So it was like a nice meet in the middle. But yeah, it kind of brought this idea of doing sort of like a one shot style, kind of like, Robin's Call Your Girlfriend is kind of an inspiration. I'm sure so many people have been inspired by that. It's
Yeah.
just like so fun and like powerful to just be like, oh, it's just her in this big, huge like warehouse space. So I kind of wanted to do something inspired by that. And so that paired with like the health restrictions, obviously, that kind of just lent itself well to this idea. And I grew up doing a lot of dance as a kid. So before I really shifted all of my focus on music, um, I danced, I did everything. So
That's awesome. Yeah.
this is kind of a fun, like, okay, I just want to have fun with this and see what I can pull off. Um, so yeah, I hired a choreographer, someone I know here in Edmonton, and we got together on like the Wednesday of the week that we shot and started working on it, and then had another rehearsal on the Friday, and then Saturday we shot all day. So it was very quick. Like the schedule was like bam,
That's awesome.
because
Yeah.
it was, I feel like yeah, we all knew that there were going to be harsher restrictions coming like any moment just because of the way things were. So
Yeah.
it was
Very
kind of like, okay,
impulsive. Yeah.
time.
Or not so
Yeah,
impulsive,
so
but
got to do
spruce of
it.
the moment. That's great. That's even that
Yeah.
actually kind of adds to the fun of it. It's, it's got the
Yeah.
shotgun aspect of it, and it just makes it even more free and liberating because the song itself is about. You're saying that it's about um, having those like very momentary, like immediate feelings, on a sweaty
Hmm.
dance floor in a mix
Yeah.
of a club, and that feels so long gone nowadays, right? Like it's just
Yeah.
been, it just feels like ancient history, and
Yeah.
how did like how does that make you like listening to your own song and having that kind of inspiration? How does that make you feel overall? Like, are you it's kind of a weird question, but
No.
like, are you kind of hopeful for all this? Are you excited?
Yeah. I mean, I think in general, I have been naively hopeful. I mean, I've been very fortunate with my circumstances during this whole time. Um, so I kind of just decided that, given all the things that I have available to me, the tools to keep doing this, we shifted rollout strategy and things like that to do it digitally only. I just really, yeah, I am kind of a hopeful person, I guess. But with this song, specifically, it was kind of nice to have it as the first song of 2021 because for me, because the first two songs I put out were a little bit more serious in nature, a little more introspective. Well, the first one was very introspective. The second one was a bit more of a heartbreak song, really.
Mm.
So it was really nice to come back after the holiday break and everything to be like, okay, now here's something that is just straight up fun. And, I'm not the only person that's just like, I can't wait to be able to dance up on strangers again in a club. And
Yeah.
like, so this was just like a nice, okay, let me just help you out with your daydream fantasies here.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where the video went to. It was kind of this idea of like, when you just can't stop thinking about somebody and you just like feel like a teenager again. And you're just like, okay, now like, you wake up in the morning and then you're at work and then you're at the club, and like having that kind of theatrical element to it and doing it more theatricized kind of fit, I think, the times for now, I guess, because it's like, wow, we can't go do this in a club for real.
Yeah.
So,
And that's
but
actually a
yeah,
nice point too with the fantasy idea of it, where it's like,
yeah,
um, a lot of people, some nights will just have like their roommate or their friend over, and they'll just be blasting some music, dancing around their kitchen, and it almost like personifies that. In their heads, they're thinking, "Oh man, imagine being at some stupid club and
yeah,
getting drunk and going home with some idiot or whatever."
totally.
And it kind of personifies that, which is great. Um,
Yeah.
and I wanted to circle back to because you're talking about how you used to dance and stuff as a kid, and
Hmm.
I think it's a nice segue because your start in music professionally was with your sisters, right?
Yeah,
Not
I
to
played
bring
in
up
a
old
band.
things, but
Well, well, you can't escape your past. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No, it was a great way to get into music, honestly. Yeah, I have two younger sisters, and we played in a family country folk bluegrass kind of thing for at least 8 years. And so that's
Yeah.
when I would have started writing songs, was around the age of like 11 or 12, I think. And then, yeah, we
Wow.
played together for a long time. And, like it started out very small, like our first audiences were, the retirement homes in our hometown of Stony Plain.
Yeah.
And that was a great way to just like get performance experience while also making people happy.
Hopefully there are no
And
hecklers of the retirement center,
well, you'd be surprised. Just kidding. I was even before the pandemic hit, I was playing at a retirement home in Red Deer once in a while too, and it was a lot of fun to just go and play like classic, like like Dolly Parton, Johnny Cash, and stuff.
Yeah.
Because yeah, music is very it's such a connector no matter what age you are, right? So, but yeah, no, playing with my sisters was a really good way to build, just experience
Yeah. It
really.
opened a
And
lot of doors for you too, right? I know, I
totally.
understand. Was that with your sisters that you played at the Vancouver Olympics?
Yeah, Alberta House there, the Alberta Foundation for the Arts, I think, maybe had been involved with that, and we were invited to go play. So
That's
yeah,
that's not nothing at all. That's awesome.
no, for sure.
And
And especially for how old we were too. Man, that's 2010 now. Wow.
I
I think
know
I was
it's a decade.
19 or something.
That's
Is
crazy.
that how old I was? How do I do math now? Anyway, you know,
Just make it up.
so
Yeah.
yeah, just make it up.
And is there any? Sorry, I know that obviously because your sisters and you were very musical, and that's because your parents are very. Are they must be musically inclined, right? Or no?
Not really, honestly. Music appreciators, yes.
Okay.
And growing up, especially our mom, just we had so many cassette tapes of music from, Neil Diamond to Wilson Phillips to the Beach Boys to Disney, of
Yeah,
course.
of course.
I remember the Lion King cassette was a big hit in our house.
Ah,
And like tons of dress up clothes, and just like we're really encouraged to be creative and imaginative. And so I think that was just really something that was cultivated from a young age. So
nice.
that's something that, it's really important too, growing up, especially if you're a young artist and you're trying to pursue a career, because, your parents always want nothing but the best for you, but what they think is best for you might not match what you think is best. And so
Mhm.
to just have that like unwavering support was, it's something I'm still very grateful for to have, because I've definitely enough friends who weren't blessed with the same kind of support, where
Yeah.
you're
Are they
you're
still like?
oh,
Is your family still very? They must obviously be very supportive of your solo career, especially your sisters. There's no, hard feelings or anything that you moved on
yeah.
without them.
Yeah. It was so long ago now, honestly.
Yeah.
I think it was just like a coming of age thing, because we were all more or less teenagers. I'm the firstborn, but we're all within 4 years of each other. So
Oh, that's
we
awesome.
just got to an age where, like you're figuring out who you are and as an individual, and it just kind of made sense for us to dissolve that project at the time. But yeah, one of my sisters is still actively playing in other projects, and then my other sister is still very creative and enjoys things like pottery, and does enjoy music, but isn't pursuing it as a career so much. But
Oh, that's
you
great.
know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Not to make this about them. This interview is about
It's all
you.
good.
So
They're a big part of who I am, and where I come from. So, it makes sense.
that's awesome. Yeah. That's a nice thing about having siblings that are so close in age to you, where you can actually
Yeah.
relate to them still, and then, have that filterless, creativity just all the time. I know my sister and I are very much
Yeah.
like that too, and still to this day, which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was doing a bit of research for myself here, and I was going through your Instagram, and I gotta say
Mhm.
it's so nice to see a feed that is like 100% positivity, because I noticed that all your posts are just about being confident and exuding just uh, not to repeat myself, but positivity and just
Mhm.
good vibes. And
Thank you.
I was scrolling through one of them, and there was one that had a quote that I really liked. Uh, Something, be secure enough to sincerely celebrate others who are soaring instead of needing to
Yeah.
be the only eagle in your circle. And as a
Yeah.
creative myself, that felt like a very powerful statement,
Mhm.
especially, involved in music and stuff where it can feel very competitive.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
how do you make sure, as an artist, how do you make sure that that stays true as a mantra?
Yeah. So first of all, just to mention, yeah, that's Dr. Thema, Thema, who's on all the social media. I listen to her podcast Homecoming quite a bit these days. But yeah, when I saw that post, I think it was a tweet of hers, and that really struck me because I don't know, it's something I've noticed, and maybe it's just like the more ground I cover and like, kind of like the more I level up, you kind of notice these kind of like underlying attitudes sometimes from other
Mhm.
people, but whether they're imagined or not, you're thinking about it. But I mean, I definitely can relate to that feeling probably, you know, in my early to mid 20s even. It's just kind of you're trying to figure out your own identity and who you are, and that competitiveness can really exist, I find, and it's just this weird unhelpful energy where you're like, man, I'm just wasting all of my energy and time on something that is helping zero people.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like that total lack mentality, right? Where you're kind of like living in fear in a way because you think that there isn't enough space to go around or something.
It's almost like a mental thing where you can probably catch
It is, yeah.
yourself, right? And
I find like these days I don't really experience it like at all. And I think it comes from actively practicing to release that kind of mentality, honestly, because it took me some time. Like, I don't know, I don't really have a great timeline of when, but there came a point in time where I was like, okay, you get to decide how you react to situations. That's just the truth. You have control over yourself. So you get to choose if you want to cheer people on or if you want to be, jealous. Or, I mean, jealousy is normal. It's not like it's bad. It's
mhm.
just how you choose to deal with it, I think. And that competitive nature, it's like, do you want to compete or do you want to be creative? It's like, pick one or the other. And so I chose, no, I'd rather be creative and I'd rather cheer people on because one person's success is everyone's success, really. And when you start to practice that way of thinking and that just that mindset, I don't know, it became easier. And now it's just like something I don't even think about. Um, but I do notice it, in other conversations I might have with other people. Or I was even thinking this morning, um, because I was listening to Miley Cyrus, and I remember posting a cover video of hers, and someone had commented like, "Oh, I haven't heard the Miley version, but I'm sure yours is much better." Like, it's things like that that are just those little like, okay, but we're still perpetuating the competitiveness, which I don't love.
Yeah, that's so
And
subtle
I find
too.
it's very subtle, and I don't think people are aware of it necessarily. So it's just kind of like I try to, bring it up in a meaningful, kind way, but just to be like, that's actually not really. I know you're trying to like compliment me or whatever, but it's not actually the right way of doing it because you shouldn't have to like bring somebody else down to lift somebody else up. It doesn't really work that way.
Yeah. I never
And
thought of it that
that
way.
we
That's
can
great.
appreciate every single person's own unique traits and abilities. Like, that's the point. It's like, okay, you're here as yourself. Like, let's celebrate you as you are.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So it's something that still permeates, especially this industry and entertainment and music. And I have to say, especially among women, it's like, yeah, there's more competitiveness, I think, among women and female identifying folks. I think
Yeah.
it's just this, and it's just like if you've been raised and conditioned in a certain culture to kind of behave that way, then you have to like unlearn those mental pathways that have kind of just like been
Mhm.
on autopilot.
Yeah, and it's interesting, you obviously make a good point about especially female or female identifying people who have to really kind of um, who have even more of a conscious awareness of how competitive it can be because I've noticed a lot on my Twitter and stuff too recently. A lot of female artists were, especially those are like pushing 30 or even 40 or whatever, and it becomes
Mhm.
like almost there's like a deadline for them that they kind of always have in the back of their head, and
Right.
which is unfortunate and very obviously very unfair. And not to put you on the spot, but do you feel like how do you feel that kind of sort of pressure? And if you do, like, how do you kind of combat that?
Um, I don't now. I think when I was younger, which is kind of funny, I did because, it's like Western society and culture and popular culture in general really glorifies youth and really glorifies beauty. And yeah, so I think for a while it was like, okay, like I have to be doing this by the time I'm 30 and like whatever. And now I just don't feel that way because honestly, it's like the older I get, like every year, I'm like, wow, I feel more grounded. I feel like I know myself better. I feel smarter. I feel
Yeah,
more capable of like being ready for whatever comes. So I don't really even think about that
that's
these
great. That's a
days
great answer then.
because
Yeah.
and and I think that's important not to because um if you can, I don't know. I am very much an advocate for like curating your social media feeds and stuff too.
Hmm.
But just because, if there's certain things that are, I don't know, for lack of a better word, like triggering for you in some way, it's like, well, maybe until you've kind of like really gotten to a place where that doesn't happen, you can just not look at that for now.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting that it was kind of more of a thing for you when you were younger, because I feel like, um, for myself too, like after I hit, it's a rough guess, but like after I hit 25, you're that urgency to be like, oh, I need to accomplish this by 22. I need to get married by like 28 or whatever.
Hmm.
Even, that's more of a general thing, but even in like my career and stuff too, it's like, oh, I've got to be, living in a house by 27. Um,
Yeah.
you know, After a certain age, just in my mid 20s, like that kind of almost disappeared. Like there was a day I woke up and I was
Yeah.
like, you know what? I really don't need to rush into this. And especially nowadays where you see people buying houses with their significant others and getting dogs and getting pregnant or whatever, it
Hmm.
almost like doesn't really bother myself. And I feel like
No.
yeah, it's just, it's almost, you can't even explain it sometimes. It's just like, oh,
Yeah.
it's fine. I don't care. I'm doing what I'm doing.
I think like I was talking to, I think it was one of my roommates the other day actually, because a friend of hers had commented um about or asking how about me and my confidence as a person. And I was like, oh, that's like it's really nice that that's the perception for sure. I mean, I do feel confident most of the time, but and then yeah, she said something like about me, just like, oh yeah, like Alex just doesn't, give a whatever about what people think. And then I was like, I think it's less about not caring what other people think. And I think it's more about caring more about what you think.
Yeah.
So it's not so much like, oh, I don't care what anybody thinks. It's like, no, I just actually am a lot more focused on my own values and the things that are important to me and like what I want to do and like the things I stand for and like finding the meaning and purpose in what I do. So it's just a shift in focus where it's like, oh, I'm not so preoccupied with the outer. It's more learning to know the inner, I
Yeah.
guess.
That's great. That's actually something that hopefully a lot of younger artists kind of pick up as soon as possible, where
Yeah.
hopefully they're not too worried about what other people think and just focus on what the music they want to make. And actually,
Yeah.
that's a great segue. Do you have any, like, what would you kind of say either to your younger self starting out, or anyone listening that might be kind of kind of leading into a career in music?
Yeah. I think like, yeah, it's a cliche for a reason, but staying true to who you are is very important. And um just really aiming for that authenticity, whatever that means for you, because um it's nowadays, especially like being an artist and you're on social media platforms and people are interacting with you in ways beyond just hearing your music, right? So I think it is really important to like nurture who you are as a person and not be afraid to make mistakes or mess up, because sometimes those can just be happy accidents too.
Yeah.
um and so like not being too preoccupied with doing everything like perfectly. I had huge perfectionist tendencies. I mean, I still have some, but they're not as bad anymore.
Yeah.
but um but yeah, and just like really working on your work. Like don't worry about what other people are doing, because you are only on your own path, and it's not going to look like anyone else's, especially in an industry that is so um it's evolving all the time, it's changing all the time. We have to know how to adapt super quickly, and you're living in the real world but also online. I don't know, there's a lot going on. So I kind of had to give myself some mantras growing up too. It's like, the one like eye on the prize, or like, just
Yeah.
putting the blinders on, stay in your own lane. And then above all else, it's like taking action. It's like, it's one thing to have great ideas and dreams and fantasies, but if you aren't doing those everyday habits to get you towards those goals, they're just always going to be kind of dreams in your head. So taking action, it's something I'm still working on, really. So
Yeah. Well, that's
yeah.
very inspiring. So thank you. That's a
Oh,
wonderful
thanks.
response.
Thank you.
And this is nice kind of segue into my next question. I was going to ask this a bit earlier, but I feel like while we're on the topic,
Mhm.
uh, what's something that you're trying to bring into 2021? It could be, material, it could be spiritual, it could be, you know,
Mhm.
mentally.
Yeah, I mean, something I'm focusing on this year is like focus, honestly. Really getting into developing like these are all the boring things, but they matter. It's
Yeah.
like, it's like, okay, have a good morning routine because it really sets me up for the rest of my day. And like, not looking at my screens or messages before, I don't know, 10 a.m. or something. Things like that. And I've been prioritizing like physical health too, like, exercise being super important because I learned that in 2020. It's like, wow, this really does fix my brain. Like
Yeah.
it just like helps so much. It only took me however many years to figure that out. But yeah, time management and really just staying focused because there can be so many distractions. And I think like, and this isn't something I came up with obviously, but I like to believe, there's like a season for everything. So it's like, my season right now, that's what it's about. It's like about having these really good structures in place so I can succeed in the things I want to accomplish. And then, there'll be another season where it's like, oh, all I have to do is like dream and write songs. Like, I don't
That's
know,
awesome.
that's kind of how I operate right now because of just where I'm at and just, all the different jobs I do for my career. It's like, you got to prioritize the things that need to be done right now. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And speaking of seasons, I guess with your new album coming out,
Hmm.
I guess that could be, like almost a forthcoming season where you're kind of
Hmm.
focusing on that. Have you announced more? I don't want to spoil anything. Have you announced more details about other than what was the name of it again?
The album is called With Pleasure.
With pleasure, right?
Yeah. Um, so it is coming in the spring. Like it's gonna be coming like end of April.
Okay,
Is kind of what we're looking at. But I will have another single and video before then.
good.
I
Keep
think
your
we
eyes
have one
peeled,
more.
people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So look for that probably in the coming month or so. So I'm really excited about that. I shot another music video at the end of summer last year. So
Oh, nice.
um yeah, so that's what's coming. And then I mean for now, just like with the release and everything, very much focused on video content and how we can reach people that way, live streaming.
Yeah, I was gonna say live
And
streaming.
then
You do that.
yeah,
We were talking about before. You do that every Thursday on YouTube.
yeah, yeah, every Thursday on my YouTube channel at 8 p.m. Mountain Time, which is 10 Eastern. And yeah, I play songs. I do lots of cover songs that way. I have some people who tune in actually like every week, which is very sweet. It's kind of been a nice little community that's grown through the pandemic, through 2020. Feels like a little family.
That's awesome.
It's
Yeah.
really cool. And yeah, I'll take requests like each week and try and learn them as best as I can. And and then also playing my own songs and just having kind of a nice little weekly hang spot to just kind of check in with people. And
Yeah, it's like a virtual kind of like a bar set. Like you go get your
yeah,
regulars, maybe got a beer beside you.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
pretty nice.
totally. Yeah.
And another nice project you were working on too is you also like to interview artists yourself
Hmm.
on Instagram,
Hmm.
and that's every Tuesday, not every Tuesday, but most Tuesdays you'll do an Instagram live.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to start it up doing every Tuesday again. I kind of have had a bit of a lull since the Christmas break and just kind of getting things organized with just the schedule for this year. And I'm going to be also editing it for um, podcast on Spotify and for YouTube as well on my YouTube channel to just have the episodes available there afterwards as well. But it will still be live every Tuesday on my Instagram there. And yeah, that's been really personally very fulfilling for me because there's such a great time learning about other artists' process and just where they're at because everyone has experienced and kind of coped with the pandemic in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's been really, illuminating for people who obviously love music and appreciate it, but maybe aren't so hip to like, what does an artist actually do? Like, how do they spend their time? So
Yeah,
it's kind of demystifying some things as well,
it's nice
I
to hear it
guess.
from the source. Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you have a timeline for when you're going to launch it onto Spotify and stuff, or is that kind of more just in the works?
So it's kind of been pushed back a little bit each time. I've just been kind of figuring out scheduling with new guests, but I will be making more announcements from my Instagram page and listing all of the dates on my website as well as kind of online events. So then it'll be easy to find and see who's coming up next and things like that. So what are we at here? So this coming Tuesday, I'll do an Instagram live with a guest. And then I'm thinking, I don't think I have much control actually over the exact date when it'll show up on Spotify, but it'll be like right after the live. It's like it's going to be edited so it can
Yeah.
go up on Spotify. And then if people prefer to ingest it that way, they can get it there.
And where can people find you? That's the most important question. What are your social handles, I guess?
Yeah. So on Instagram and Twitter, it's VISSIA_3. And that's VISSIA. And then Facebook is facebook.com/VISSIA music. But the links to everything, I'm actually on TikTok now too, VISSIA_3. Nice. I got there. I'm there. I did my first dance challenge thing for On My Mind. So if you want to see a clip of that, you can go there. Although it's in the music video too. But yeah, my website, VISSIAmusic.com, has links to everything. And I'm actually going to be pushing album pre-sales really soon because I've got some cool splattered vinyl with it and some new merch, t-shirt designs and things like that. So yeah, that's something I'll be talking about real soon.
And this TikTok challenge that you mentioned, is that that's your own song? So you're doing a dance to On My Mind and you're hoping people will kind of do their own recreation?
Yeah, I mean, like it was more, I was like, I haven't done one of these before, but I see them done all the time. So I thought, okay, I'll take a snippet of the choreography that was choreographed by Rebecca Sadowski here in Edmonton.
Yeah.
And do that. And then, there is a call to action, like, try it out and tag me, but I don't know if people will because I don't have a huge TikTok following, but you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
So
I'm not sure if you can see the gears in my head turning, but I'm like, maybe I should try this dance out. Let's see.
You can go check it out. See what you think.
Yeah, I got TikTok recently too, and I'm just, it just feels like too much of a monster to really master sometimes.
It's kind of a vortex, for lack of a better word. Like I get so much, like there's so many entertaining, creative people. So I'm always impressed by the types of things people are posting and what they come up with. And like, people are so funny. And like, I'm like, that's what we need, honestly, is creativity and like laughter and, but it's such a good mix of just like straight up comedy sometimes, or like political commentary. Like, I don't know. I enjoy it a lot, but I have to limit my consumption of it because all of a sudden you're like, oh, there went an hour of my day. Why?
I saw one artist who was trying to, I can't remember who it was, but I saw somewhere their goal for the year was to create more than they consume. So it's like a kind of because especially with TikTok, where you can sit there for like 2 hours, not even notice it, and just enjoy your 2 hours, but then to look back and be like, maybe now I should use 2 hours and make something of my own. So
totally,
people listening, try to do that into your daily schedule.
Yeah. Well, it can really like just being on a platform for too long. Like, yeah, there is good content. There's obviously some not so good content, but like energetically what it does to, I think, like your brain and your motivation, it's like you got to be careful because
Yeah.
it'll really make your day kind of, I don't know, disappear on you. And then you're like, oh, what did I do? I guess there's tomorrow.
Back to TikTok. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's great. Do you have anything else you'd like to mention? I feel like we covered quite a bit there, so I don't want to.
Yeah, I mean, I'll mention as well, I did start a Patreon page in the spring, at the beginning of the first shutdown here anyway. So I do have subscribers there, and for anyone who wants to support me directly in that way, um, there's always exclusive things I'm sharing there, and like first listens, first looks at things. And then yeah, lots of things that no one else gets to see.
It's
Sometimes
awesome.
little special offer things, but yeah, it's really chill. It's like you could sign up for $2 a month and cancel whenever. It's just like you could go try it out if you
Yeah,
want,
and the nice thing
whoever.
is
But
Patreon is available in Canadian dollars now, which is a
yeah, it is. Yeah.
big thing. I noticed that too. So
Yeah,
no
they just
excuses,
introduced that.
people.
So
Yeah,
yeah, so it's a Patreon has been a cool way for people to directly support creatives and artists and programming in a direct way. So
yeah, I agree. I'm trying
yeah.
to get people on my Patreon too. This is a nice
Yeah,
plug. This is a nice
it's
plug for me too. Patreon.com/DustyOrgan.
there you go. Yeah.
What's I guess just search VISSIA, right? That'd be easy enough to find you on Patreon.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's /VISSIA, patreon.com/VISSIA is what it is.
Easy.
So, but yeah, I'm pretty searchable. There aren't too many. There's an Italian boxer, Vissia Trovato, but
Hmm.
she is the other Vissia that I see on the internet mostly. But and then anyone else with the same last name, I'm probably related to.
There you go. Yeah. Well, did you have to put 3? I was gonna ask, did you have to put VISSIA_3 because you lost like a bet with your sisters? Like, did one of them get 1, 2, and you're 3, or?
No, it was 3 was my favorite number for a long time. I mean, it still is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Maybe it's weirdly because, being one of 3, the number 3 has just been prominent in my life. So I just chose it because I think maybe it was like even Taylor Swift has like 13. It's like Taylor. I was like, well, I'm gonna pick my favorite number too. Like,
That's cute.
so
Yeah. Yeah, I guess you gotta stick to what you know.
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much for chatting with me today, VISSIA.
Yeah, thanks for
It's
having
been a
me.
lovely
My
afternoon.
pleasure.
Don't forget to check out her new single "On My Mind" and the very, very fun, we'll say Robin-inspired music video.
Yeah.
It's a blast. It'll make you feel good. All right. Well, thank you again.
Thank you.